Welcome to How We Money, brought to you by Māori Millionaire and ANZ, a 6-part series designed to help you make better money moves and achieve your financial goals. Each month we'll drop a simple, practical episode to help you build confidence with your cash. Māori Millionaire and ANZ care deeply about financial well-being in our communities, which is why we want you to not just listen, but to take action. If you do one positive thing after every episode, that's 6 powerful steps forward. Let's get into it. No mai haere mai e te whānau. Welcome to our first episode of the How We Money series. Today we are sitting here with Iyia Liu. No mai haere mai e hoa. Welcome to the series.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited for today's kōrero. Before we dive into it, do you want to just introduce yourself to our audience?
Okay, so my name's Iyia. I am 32. Do you need to know my age? I don't know. I have spent the last 10 years starting, scaling, growing different types of businesses. My first one, Waist Trainer, Lux Fitness, Celebration Box, Title Hair. Right now I'm doing consulting called Make It Happen. And yeah, you probably would say I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah, serial entrepreneur, like you've done a lot, and I've always looked up to your business journey, so I'm really excited to be sitting here with you today and just unpacking a little bit about like your mindset behind the things that you've done. Do you think, like, what is your thoughts on like money mindset, and how have you been able to achieve the things that you've been able to do using your mind?
So I'm from an Asian family. I don't know if you've got a lot of Asian friends.
You? No.
Okay, great. So Asian people, they really like money. They like saving money, and they don't like spending. Like if you knew my grandma, she would want me to save everything, and she wants you to eat every last bite of food. Like they're very scared of wastage, because back then I think when my grandma was little, my parents were little, China didn't have much. So I grew up with this mindset of like, got to make lots of money, can't waste any money, and be very cautious of spending. So I feel like throughout my childhood, teenage years, up until uni, I was very cautious. I would put every dollar, so it would work, hospitality. I had so many jobs, hospo, promo girl. I was doing catering. I remember I delivered a meal to John Key once. That was like the highlight of my career back then. So I would save every single dollar. Eventually, I remember I saved up to $6,000. I had $6,000 in my bank account. I must have been about to finish uni. And I didn't spend all of it on my first business, but I definitely used some of that to start a little side hustle. So I was very, very cautious, but then I knew that there was something that I was saving for, whether that have been, I know for some people it's a house, or it's, what else do people want? House.
Cars,
Cars.
handbags.
Well, no, see, I feel like cars and handbags, and I wouldn't say that's something that you're really trying to save for to make your life, improve the quality of your life. So I'd say maybe investing in property, or putting money away for shares, or starting a business, like ways to amplify what you're already making.
I love this, and I think it's so relatable, especially for me, growing up with Māori culture. We're very much the same, and I think there are so many ways that scarcity plays out, and I used to be the exact same, where I would just like hoard my money. There's been two ends of the spectrum, like one end where I was like very frivolous, but then there was this other end where I would just like hoard my money, because I was like, well, I never want to be broke, so I need to just like hold on to everything. What were some of the steps that you took to, starting a business is quite scary. And for a lot of people, they want to, they have these big dreams of doing it, but they let this fear stop them. So I would assume that you also experienced fear starting something new, especially with the upbringing that you've had. Like what were the steps that you took to, change your mindset and to go like, actually risk could potentially do something good for me. And in order to achieve something, sometimes you have to take a little bit of risk.
I guess growing up, there's like the set plan. You are encouraged to go to school, go to uni, get a good job, climb the ladder, get married, uh, all the other things. And I feel like when I left, so I went to school, went to uni, got out of uni, I couldn't get a job. Like no one would give me a job. I applied for so many jobs, and I remember thinking in my head, like, I think I'm smart. I know I'm hardworking. I believe I can do something more. Like I believe I can be successful. But no one would give me this opportunity. So I sort of actually just had to find side hustles. I started off by buying bulk lots of clothing from Trade Me. I would style them on myself, relist them. make $20, $30 a piece. And then I decided I would import a few units of shapewear, set up a Shopify website. Shopify website, there's a free trial. And it's about $29 a month. A few units of shapewear, it didn't cost that much. 20, 30 units of shapewear. And then posting on social media was free. So I think the reason I was able to start that first business was because the costs weren't too high. So I didn't feel like there was a huge amount of risk. Had there been a huge amount of risk, I probably wouldn't have taken that step because of my scarcity mindset at the time.
Yeah. I'd love to kind of unpack this like scarcity mindset. What was some of the things that you saw in your life or the habits that you had that were that scarcity?
That's just my parents, Chinese parents.
Yeah.
They are so scared of, I've already said it before, but like they're so scared of you not finishing your meal. Um, if they see you spending on anything that you might not necessarily need or not a necessity, they'll be like, why are you buying that? Mum's always like, you've got so many clothes. I'm like, well, I like clothes.
I'm a girl.
I'm just a girl.
Yeah.
So it is harder, I guess, when you've got people around you that are they grew up in this age of we cannot waste anything. And then I feel like now that I've had my businesses, generated a lot more income, I remember a few years ago, someone was like, oh, you're so tight, even though you make so much. And it's because I wasn't buying drinks when we were out, when we were at a bar. I was like, yeah, because I don't want to waste money on drinks. I don't like paying for gas. I don't like spending money on things that I don't really get value or make me, I don't know, feel good after I spend the money, like gas. Like, that's just annoying. We all need it, but it's annoying.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same. And actually, some of my friends, when I bought some new clothes for our podcast, and my friends were like hyping me up. They were like, "Oh my gosh, yay! Finally, you bought something." Because I'm always like, "Oh no, I don't really need it. Like, it's not that important." But like, I like to prioritize for like work, for mahi things. I want to buy something, but I'm exactly the same. Like when it comes to spending money, I see kind of everything as like an investment, and I'm like, this has got to have a return in some way. So I'm quite intentional about how I use my money, but some of my friends who might like earn less are like we spend way more than you. And I'm like, well, I like to be like intentional about that. But has that always been the case for you? Like, have you always been quite intentional about where you used your money? Or was there a time where possibly you were using money on things that weren't, I guess, that helpful or didn't necessarily have a return?
I feel like you've nailed it. The word intention. I've always been intentional with money. Again, probably just from the upbringing. But you're so right. Like you learn through trial and error. When you spend money on things like dumb things or things that maybe you buy it and then you're like, I don't need that. I don't actually like it. You get this little sense of remorse, and then you actually learn, like, actually, I don't need these things to be happy or content. And then you start learning what you should put your money in. Well, hopefully, you start learning what you should put money in to actually give you a good return on investment.
Yeah, we love returns. So you seemed like there was a lot of motivation for you to grow your business, grow your income. What was that first like motivation for you? What was your initial kind of goal getting into business?
My initial goal, it actually did stem out of no one would hire me. And so I had all these part-time jobs, retail, hospo, catering. What else did I do? Paper run. It's terrible.
I did that too.
I feel like when you work at the average hourly, it's like $4 an hour or something. It's very bad. And I remember there were days when I'd go to my retail job and I wouldn't even have lunch because I thought, okay, I make $18.50 an hour and lunch is $12, $13. That's almost an hour I've wasted on lunch. So I'd starve myself because I was like, I've just worked an hour and I don't want to spend it on lunch. So then I actually just thought, I need to change my life. I need to do something because I can't just keep starving myself because,
It's unsustainable.
yeah. And yeah, so I was just like, I just need to do something. And at the time, I'd seen people start businesses online again because the risk was low. I was like, may as well try it. Turned out very well. Ended up making $3.5 million my first year. I was 21. So I'm very I don't want to say I was lucky, but I'm lucky that I accidentally stumbled into the path of doing that.
That's absolutely crazy to like go into a business thinking like I can't no one's hiring me. I just want like $300 a week and to grow to 3.5 mil. Like that's something that I think a lot of business owners might not necessarily experience. Like some people will spend years and years kind of slaving away at their business, trying to build it before they're able to even experience maybe their first like, 50K or 100K year. What do you think the mindset was that supported you to be able to like scale in such a huge way?
I feel like the main thing was finding out what works, a combination of things that work. So for me, it was influencer marketing, social media marketing, paid ads, that sort of combo. And once it works, it's like a system, right? And then you just increase and increase and increase your marketing spend, or yeah, just push it forwards, all through trial and error. And I feel like back then also I was 21, no kids, no, not a lot of things. Like I had a lot of time to dedicate to this. Not to say that you can't do it with kids. Like I've got 2 kids now, still running the businesses and companies. Just definitely less time now. So if you've got no kids, it's a great time to do something.
So, you where did you learn this stuff? So, most people don't even know what like influencer marketing is or how to do these things. Where did you go to learn this stuff?
It was actually just through trial and error. So I mean, I went to uni. I studied marketing, business, got a business degree, but it's a lot of theory. So what I found was very useful about uni was this: they teach you the psychology of why people buy. It's very important. But then putting the tools in action, that was all through trial and error. Yeah, there's definitely a system to it, but yeah, just through learning, just doing yourself.
So I feel like you've got to have a lot of grit to be able to do that because, in my experience, you can try something, you can fail, 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 fail before something actually works. Did you experience that at all? Like, did you have those failures before the success happened? Or was it like you just started and it was like, boom, like you made 3.5 mil? Like, what was that like for you? What was that initial year in business like? What was what were you saying to yourself? Like, what were you thinking in that year of scaling to such a huge amount at such a young age, like 18? Like, most 18-year-olds, aren't making millions of dollars. Do you think that your thoughts, your mindset, the things you were telling yourself or believing in yourself possibly, do you think those things had an impact on being able to scale that quickly?
It definitely is a mindset. I feel like it's this belief that you are destined for something else, or like there is something. Yeah, you can do something big. I don't know where I had that, I guess, mindset from. I don't know if it's from schooling or from family, but believing in yourself, I guess that's the key part, right?
Mm. Have there been moments where you haven't believed in yourself or you've maybe experienced things that possibly didn't turn out well in business that you were like, oh, maybe I should give up or maybe this isn't worth it? Or have you experienced that?
Definitely. I mean, anytime there's like a downturn or you're trying out methods, like in your mind, you're thinking like, if I do this, this will work, and you don't get the same outcome that you thought, and then you're doubting yourself. I mean, even this week, I've had something like that happen. I was planning this huge launch. It didn't execute quite as I thought it would, and it didn't generate as much revenue as I thought it would. And then you are sitting there going, oh my goodness, I've planned all these things with this, and it's not gone to plan. So, definitely. But I think you just have to continue to push through.
Yeah. So for most people though, like they experience failure or they experience something that doesn't go their way and they're like, well, I don't think this is for me. It's just not working. Like I have a friend who's actually just started, he's trying to grow his business and he was saying to me, oh, like it was working when I started and now it's not working. And I think it's been like 2 weeks or something. And I said to him, like, like stop looking at the numbers and actually just like keep doing this and be consistent. But for a lot of people, they're like, well, it's not working, so I just mustn't, be fit for this. It's obviously not for me. Do you think that were there any key, like, I don't know, things in your routine that you did that supported you to believe in yourself when maybe things weren't going your way or you didn't experience the results that you intended to?
Well, you said the key word. You said consistency, and that actually just is the word. I was actually on a call with someone recently as well, and they were like, "Yeah, I've launched my website. I was very excited, but I've not had many sales." And then I went and did a quick audit, I was like, well, you're not doing any advertising. You're not doing any marketing. You haven't done any influencer marketing. You've got no content coming out. There's no social proof on your website. So all the things that are actually required, you're not doing them yet. So do not feel like it's not working because you actually haven't pushed it hard enough. All I needed to say was just keep going. And she was like, okay, just keep going. Sometimes it's just that confidence piece, like the self-doubt. It's like you almost need someone to be like, just keep going.
So like my saying in my world is aha ko te aha, no matter what. Like you just got to keep pushing. Like no matter what you're kind of like going through. I feel like a lot of people will outsource their power to things in their external reality. Oh, this thing isn't working. This thing isn't working. And I try to, as much as possible, stay quite like tunnel visioned of like where I'm going. And so like especially with like what I'm consuming, who I'm hanging out with, the ideas that are in my mind. Do you have things like that? Like, are you intentional about, say, the people you surround yourself by, the content you consume, maybe podcasts you listen to or books you read? Is that something that's helped you to, I guess, maintain this like abundant mindset?
Definitely. I feel like, everyone's got different platforms. Some people listen to podcasts, some people read books. For me, I actually like to just consume content on social media, but it's all like business content, content about how to create viral content and things that will help me upskill, I guess. Also, I think, I don't know if this is totally what you're talking about, but I just always have this, you've got to have a dream, like you've got to have an end goal. So I remember when I was launching my first business, I would always think about one day living on this, not a field, like having like a lifestyle property and building a home there for my family. And I would just, you'd call it a manifestation, but I would just think about that all the time. And if you think about it enough and you sort of consume all of this content that is positive, you start to really believe it and you start to think like this can actually happen for me. And so then yes, you're right, you get the tunnel vision. Like, I'm going to make that happen. What do I need to do to make that happen? Okay, well, if I want to get there, I need to do this, then work backwards. Okay, so if I need to do that, then today I have to do these three things. And that's sort of you just tick off those three things, then you're a little bit closer. Tick off the next to do list, you're a bit closer. And then you reach the big goal.
So how did you know what those like 3 steps were, or what were the steps that you took to, go from making a goal of $300 to 3.5 million? What were some of those initial steps that you took? You talked about influencer marketing, and using social media, all of those types of things, and I guess using your experience at university, the theory that you learned, and then putting that into practice. How did you, I guess, create like a roadmap, or find out the steps that you needed to take? Like for me, I kind of think about like reverse engineering things and going like, this is what I want, working backwards. Do you do something like that, or how do you know what those steps are that you need to take?
Yeah, reverse engineer is, I do that too. I do reverse engineer. So again, start at the end and then go, okay, let's say I want 100,000 followers. Okay, well, what do I need to do then? Then I need to get consistent with my content, create good content. What does that look like? So then you start researching content. And then if it's saying, okay, well, then you need to put at least 1 to 2 pieces of content up a day, that's value based, then you need to just do that. So it's like, okay, I've got the end goal. I've sort of researched how to do it. I've broken it down into steps. And then now I just need to execute. If I do these steps, I should be able to get there.
Very quickly, te whānau, if you are enjoying today's podcast episode, make sure to share it to your story and tag us. All right, back to the show.
There is a roadmap to everything, but it's figuring out the roadmap and then at the execution. I feel like a lot of people just don't do the execution part.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think the biggest barrier is for people? Like a lot of people know, like, okay, like if I want to grow a business, I should probably go on social media, or I should probably, learn about business, learn about taxes, do all these things. But I feel like a lot of people, like, they can understand that, but then they don't do it. Do you have any like theories of like why people will have these big dreams, and like they're thinking about the house, they're thinking about, I've been to your whare and it's beautiful, like they're thinking of that in their mind, but there's something stopping them from actually doing the things to make it happen. Do you have a theory on why?
I definitely have a theory. I'm always on call with people and I speak to a lot of people that are in that phase where they know they want to do something. They know they want to change their life, but they are feeling overwhelmed. And I feel like the word is that's the reason. They're overwhelmed with maybe the either the roadmap or the amount of tasks they believe that might be involved. So what I always tell them is, again, start on that end goal, reverse engineer, just make a to-do list of like 3 or 4 things. Actually, no, make a full to-do list and then each day just tick off 2 or 3 things. So it could look like today. So first goal, try and save, I don't know, $1,000, $2,000, whatever your savings goal is. Okay, then next step, okay, now I'm ready to set up a business if that's what you want to do. It could look like registering a company today, and then the next day setting up a business bank account, and then ordering 3 samples, creating a logo. So it's like, okay, just tick off 1 task a day. It's overwhelming. Just do 1.
I love that. And that's quite a similar strategy to what I did when I started business. And it's kind of funny, like I created my first logo on Canva and it was like a lot of people thought like that's a really weird logo. And it was literally, I think it was like Times New Roman or something like that. But like I was just a girl, an 18-year-old girl giving it a crack and like it wasn't great, it wasn't perfect. But I think that even imperfect action like can lead to growth. And I remember actually when I first started in my business, I was like reaching out to the media and I was like, Kia ora, I'm Te Kahukura, I'm 18 years old. I just started a blog and podcast called Māori Millionaire. Like, do you guys want to interview me? And like 95% of people like didn't reply to me or like ignored me. But there was like a small amount and like someone was like, oh, do you want to come on the TV tomorrow? And I was like, yeah, cool. And like I feel like I was just so, I think I was naive, but I was also just like, well, if I want, to grow my business, if I want people to, if I want to grow this thing, like people have got to know about it. So I was like, well, that just seems like the most logical, thing to do. Well, journalists can help me do that. So I'll just like reach out to them. Um, but I think I was also so fixated on the vision of like what I wanted to do and who I wanted to help. And I think that helped me with that like roadmap. But I think when I've spoken about this, a lot of people go, that's like woo woo as to like, talk about like manifesting and being able to like, you first see it in your mind and before you see it in your hands. And, like they read the books and it's just like, I actually have a friend who I recently gave like a book about this too. And like, we're just like so laughing about it because the stuff that it says, it seems quite a bit crazy, a bit illogical. Do you think that what you believe, like what you choose to believe, it's going to happen? Like if you believe you're going to buy the house or you're going to grow the business, then you do that. But also the opposite is true where if you don't believe it's going to happen, then it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, well, I think goal setting. It's if you don't want to be woo woo, then it's not manifestation, then it's goal setting. I feel like you have to have a goal. Otherwise, you've got nothing to work towards. So yeah, whether you want to call it manifesting or goal setting, it's gonna give you an end destination, let's call it. And without that, where are you going? I feel like if you don't have a goal or a manifestation or a dream, you almost feel unfulfilled because it's like, well, what am I working towards?
Yeah.
We feel fulfilled when we do something that is means something to us or that's been challenging. So I think it's very important.
I love this so much. And one of the things that I've done recently is like, I really want to grow my podcast. And so I started like just imagining people sending me messages saying like, oh my gosh, I listened to your podcast. It was so valuable. Like, thank you for this. And like, I would imagine that, but I was also like putting in the work. Like I've been doing daily episodes. And so people are like, that's actually happened as a result of that. But I'm like, it first happened in my mind before it happened in real life. Are there any that tools or systems you use to ensure that you're becoming like financial or that your financial well-being is like in check?
Financial well-being.
Yeah. What does
Okay.
that look like for
What
you?
what okay, can you briefly explain what you mean by financial well-being?
Well, I guess if I think about financial well-being, it's like not stressing about money. It's feeling like everything is, covered. It's feeling safe, protected, a lot of security. Like if, an emergency was to happen, it's not going to like completely derail me. I'm not going to be like completely dysregulated by it. For me, I have like 6 months of my safety net in an account. And so I'm like, in business, you never know what can happen. And so for me, I'm like, well, that gives me a lot of peace of mind that if anything happened, I've got 6 months to figure it out. So, I'll figure it out in 6 months. That's like, I feel like that's a good, for me, it makes me feel quite well, when it comes to money. Do you use any systems like that or are there things that you do to make yourself feel, financially well, like even before you started making all of the money and all of the things?
Okay, so pre having a business, I wasn't making a lot, so I was much tighter with my money, knowing that I would want to put it into something that could bring more value to my life, whether it be shares, property, or business or something. I don't know what I was saving for. Um, but now that I do have more income, I'm still I've definitely had lifestyle inflation. I know everyone's like, don't inflate your life. It's hard not to inflate your life when you've got more income. I don't think it's a bad thing to upgrade your life a little bit because, firstly, otherwise, what are you working towards? What are you working for? It would feel pointless to work so hard and not have any upgrades, but also not being silly with your money. Again, thinking about value spending, return on investment. If I spend this, am I going to feel happier? Am I going to feel more relaxed? So for me, I felt quite happy putting my money into our family home. Again, some people say it's not the best financial decision, but for me, it's like an emotional decision, I guess. And then also, I love spending money on a holiday. Again, I work hard, and that's what I want to put it towards. It brings me joy, but I won't spend frivolously on random stuff because if I don't get a lot of joy or value out of it, I will actually feel remorse, like buyer's remorse.
Yeah, yeah. I've had that so many times too. Like when I've made an emotional decision about something, like someone will say, for example, drinking for me, like I've just realized lately that like buying alcohol for me isn't something that I value. And I went to the Māori concert and it was there that I realized like I had spent, I think it was $50 on alcohol and I just like sat with it and I was like, I actually feel like that was just such a waste of money. Like it didn't make me enjoy the night better. I can enjoy the night sober. And so I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I'm not going to hate myself over it, but I'm going to go, okay, cool. Like, I'm not going to buy alcohol at my next concert. I'm not going to do this anymore. Are there like reflective practices that you do? I know a lot of people like journal. Like, do you do that, or do you sit with yourself and go like, oh, like I noticed I spent money on da 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 da. That didn't really, align. So I'm going to change things.
Well, yeah, I guess I do. I don't physically write it down, but I just keep tabs in my head.
Yeah.
Like I've noticed over the years that if I buy cheap clothing, that I will probably just get rid of it after a few washes if it goes bad quality. So I'm like, actually, you know what? Just spend a little more on the clothing item and you'll get more wear out of it. You'll keep it for years, like 5, 10 years longer. I don't know if it still fits me then. um, but you just start to learn these things and you start realizing over time, I shouldn't do this and I should do this. But I feel like you can only tell through trial and error, I guess, of spending.
I feel like a lot of people they have these big goals, they say, "Oh, when I win lotto, I'm gonna da 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 da," and they're just like quite fixated on like when this kind of thing happens. But I feel like in the meantime, there's a lot of financial like self-sabotage that they're doing. It's like, oh, it's only $20. Like I may as well just do it. But it's like to me, I'm like $20, like that could be used to like, it doesn't seem like that much money, but I think of these like $20 so many times adds up. Do you think what do you think about like financial self-sabotage and people who I guess have these big goals but their actions just aren't aligning? What like action steps would you give them to I guess stop that from happening?
It starts with awareness, right? Number one, being aware that you're actually doing this and you are, yeah, spending these little amounts on silly things that you don't necessarily need. And then if you know that you have very poor self-control, I would put the money somewhere that it's just harder to access. So me, sometimes I have poor self-control. I either put the any spare funds in a separate bank account or maybe shares or just somewhere where I cannot easily instantly take it out.
Yeah.
Um, you might want to automate. Let's say you get a weekly pay. You might want to automate some of your pay towards somewhere that you cannot easily touch. That's yeah, I feel like that's the best way if you don't have great self-control.
I actually linked a financial wellbeing quiz down below for everyone who's listening. And I actually did the exercise last night and it was quite cool to see. So basically, what it does is it will give you like a score out of 100 and then there's like an average for your age range. And I thought that was like quite insightful. So I feel like if maybe you're not into journaling or whatever it is, but you just want to build a little bit of awareness, I would definitely recommend just checking out that quiz in the show notes below. So I feel like for a lot of people, like doing a quiz like that would be quite an easy way to, I guess, assess their financial well-being. What are some of the ways that you assess your financial well-being or check in with yourself?
I don't know if I necessarily have like dedicated chickens. But if I know that I'm spending money on things that don't bring me joy, don't bring me value, I start to feel guilty. So I don't want to feel guilty. So firstly, I just will try not to do it. Doesn't always work. I regularly audit things like subscriptions. I go through my accounting software. I mean, I feel like most people won't have accounting software, but going through your bank statements and just having a look at what you've spent and going, okay, maybe tallying it up and going, did I need to spend that? Anything I can pull out, anything I can stop doing or reduce. Um, and also, okay, are there any ways that I can maybe generate more income? Can I do contracting for someone? Can I offer a service? That's if you've got spare time. So yeah, reducing expenses, increasing income, putting it away, not spending frivolously. Is that the word? Having awareness of all of this. I feel like that is probably the key to all of this. Awareness, and then actively taking action to reduce your costs that you don't necessarily need, and also finding ways to maybe increase income if you have that capacity.
I love this. One of the things that, when I first started my financial journey, I was so overwhelmed by like how many numbers there were and like, spending money on this. And I avoided like actually doing it because I was like, I already know I am not spending my money where I should be. I already know that when I do this, it's going to show me that I'm broke because I'm spending all my money in the wrong places. So for a long time, I avoided doing it. Do you think like what would you say to someone who's also in those shoes where they're like, well, I don't really want to know the numbers because it's kind of scary, but then they also want to be better? Is there like a little pep talk you could give them to like sort their stuff out and actually just run the numbers?
I mean, firstly, I'll say I get it because often I am scared to look at my numbers sometimes as well. But the longer you don't look and the longer you stay unaware, the less control you have over your situation. So you just have to look. If you really want to make a difference, you just actually have to have a look. You might not do it every single month, but maybe a few times a year, go through your bank statement. Just look at it, and you will find subscriptions and things that you.
Yeah, yeah. I find that like the more regularly I do it, it's actually less overwhelming because there's less stuff to do. So like if I'm doing it every month as opposed to like every 6 months, then I also have more time to like integrate my reflective practices. So if I'm like, oh, okay, like this month I didn't really like how I did da 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 da, then like next month I can make the change. Whereas if I did it like 6 monthly, it would be like 6 months of like really bad habits instead of just like, okay, 1 month, and some people might just do it weekly. One of the things I did when I first started my journey was actually doing it daily. Like every single transaction I made, I would track like, how does this make me feel? Was this a good investment? And yeah, like really tuning into how it made me feel, because I think for a long time I would just swipe, 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 and I wouldn't really think about, do I feel good making this purchase? And one of the challenges I had was being like a people pleaser. So someone, friends would ask me, oh, do you want to go to town? And like, even if I didn't want to spend the money, I would still do it because I was like, well, I don't want them to not like me. I don't want them to, whatever it is. Have you ever experienced that? Like keeping up with the Joneses or feeling pressured by your peers to do things that you might not necessarily want to do? And what were some of the things that you did, if that were the case, to say no?
Yeah, I totally get that. I feel like I'm quite strong-minded. So if somebody wants me to do something and I really don't want to do it, I'll actually just say I don't want to do it. But I know my husband is, oh, don't kill me for this. He's very like, oh, okay, we'll just go along with it. So I don't know. For me, it's easy to say no if I don't want to. I don't know if I have good advice around this one. Maybe just being more strict. I don't know. I know it's not that easy.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like the more you do it, like it just gets easier. So as an example, like this year, like my intention was like just say no, like and propose a different alternative. So like as an example, one of my cousins, she was like, "Oh, it's my birthday soon. I want to go to the casino and I want to go clubbing," and I was like, I don't want to do that. And so, I just said to her, like, hey, I love this for you. Like, go you. Like, but like, should we do something else? And so we're going to go on a hike instead. And I was like, that's cool because that's something that like we both want to do. But, I still had that fear in my mind. Oh, like, maybe she's going to think that I'm being mean, or maybe she's going to think that I'm judging her. So I feel like now that I've said that, it's like, it also sets like people know now. So it's like, because she actually said to me, she was like, I really feel like you're probably going to say no. And I was like, that's cool. So like the more I say no, the more it means that people, maybe they'll just stop asking me to do things that they already think that I probably won't want to do, and just propose different, alternatives. So I feel like the more you do it, the easier it kind of gets. But one of the things that's also kind of helped me is staying so fixated on my why, on my vision, on like what gets me up out of bed every single morning. Because I feel like, and I'm not sure about you, but money, it comes and goes, and it's like cool to, earn more money. It's cool to, make more. But I feel like it's not that motivating in the same way too. Like it is for what it can do for you, for the things that it can buy, the lifestyle, whatever it is. Are you like motivated by money more or by a different kind of deeper why?
I feel like my motivations for generating more income or making money was number one, being able to afford a nice home for my family to live in. So it's, an emotional purchase, I guess. Another goal of mine is just to be able to go on a holiday once a year. That would be nice. And then be able to give my kids a nice upbringing. So that's might be putting them in a good school, living in a nice area, just being able to, afford like the essentials. Beyond that, I don't really care about making much more money. Yeah. So everyone will have their own specific goals. But I feel like most people are not just motivated by the money. There are these things that we want. Yeah. Financial security, happiness for our family and kids, I guess.
Being able to provide for your tamariki, your children, and your family is obviously such a huge motivator for you. Do you think that your culture has impacted that in any way, or your childhood, your parents?
Definitely. So when my parents came here, they came to New Zealand from China in their 20s. They studied here, and my mum's first job here was a mushroom picker in a factory. And seeing my parents work so hard, like blood, sweat, and tears, everything going into being able to raise us, allow us to live in a nice area, pay for the rents and supplying a house and food, putting us through schooling. It really makes you do not want to disappoint your parents. If they are putting everything into you, you want to make sure that you do something that they can be proud of, you can be proud of, and also what it's like to be in a situation where it's tight, like money's tight. I remember in I think it was like 2008, the global financial crisis. My dad had worked so hard his whole life. He had a boat, small boat, and then they came to take it. And I had to stand in front of this boat and like protect this boat and be like, do not take this one asset that my dad loves. So I know what it's like to have a tough financial situation. So I don't want that for my kids. I don't think you should spoil the kids and give them everything because I don't want them to be little brats and not work hard. So I'll definitely make sure that they still go out and get jobs, like when they're young, 15, 16, get work experience, understand how hard it is to make a dollar. Um, but yeah, definitely still being able to support them because my parents cannot provide me financial support. Some parents can, some parents can't. So I want to at least be able to do that for my kids if they need it.
Mm. It's very much like an emotional thing, and as you said about like buying your house, it's like to be able to provide, and I definitely resonate with that too. I, have just spent the last few years being a caregiver with my mama, with my whānau for my kuia, for my nan, my great grandmother, and my grandmother, and you know throughout this whole process, I was reflecting a lot on the journey and how many challenges there are, and when we look at how I guess like for Indigenous people, people of color, I feel like it's probably more common to have this, to be caregivers. I think like for women in particular, but I think Indigenous people probably more so. And throughout that journey, I was thinking about, okay, like these are my like nans, but there's also other people in my whānau. So I'm like, cool, like I want to be there for my family. I want to be able to, not have financial pressure to be able to provide or to be able to look after them. And so, my work now over this next chapter, what's motivating me is like, I really, really want to like set myself up so that, the next time something like this happens where, I'm required to be a caregiver, I've got this and like everything's all good. And I feel like that for me, it pushes me much more than like oh, like cracking like another 100K or like, it's just so much deeper than that. And I think this whole journey for me has always gone like beyond money. It's like, what can money actually do in our lives and allow us to, I guess, be like culturally aligned? Because I feel like it could be similar for you, where if we're living in Te Pākehā, we're living in like a Western world, it's quite, I guess, challenging to, I guess, like live authentically as us, as who we are. And I think that money can be a very powerful tool in order to do those things that are really important to us.
Hmm. Well, just security, right? Security, that's the key word. Security and reduce stress if you have that security.
Yeah. Do you
Mhm.
think that money buys happiness?
It buys things that can make you happy, but then also I think if you're just chasing money, 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 like you were saying before, and you're either not spending it or you're spending it on things that don't bring you the value, or you're cutting things out just to get the money, like family and friends, that those things might actually bring you the value. That's when you're not going to be happy with the money.
I actually read a study that said that like up until a certain point it actually does. If we think about like healthcare, I've got some, health challenges, and one of the things when those first kind of started happening and I wasn't in the financial position I am now, it was like, oh, like I wish I had more money so that I could just like pay for help and I could do the things. And, say like getting health insurance and things like that have really helped me to, or like, this is more important than just the money. And it's like so tied to our emotions. Do you think that it's more of like security and like fear driven, or more like abundance driven, if that makes sense?
It's a bit of both, I think, because, we've been in this situation where, again, the money's tight and you know what it's like to lose everything or not have much. And it is a bit of fear. I'm like, what happens if I lose everything? I don't have, my parents cannot give me anything. I have to give my parents money. So I cannot let that happen. But then also having the abundance thinking, dreaming of more, imagining more for you. I think that's more of like a fun thing. I don't know, romantic. Yeah. It's both.
So I just want to like, so that the audience has some like key steps that they can take away from today's episode. From what I've heard, one is like building a lot of awareness around your spending habits and what you do. Running your numbers, like making sure you know your numbers, you know your finances. You spoke about, basically locking your money away in places where you can't touch it. So, for me, that's KiwiSaver. I love how it's locked up and I actually cannot do it. A lot of people hate that, but I'm like, it's cool because it means I literally cannot do it unless I'm buying a house or retiring. And so that's a big thing for me. But, you were talking about shares, property, a business. What are some key steps someone might take to start on their journey of abundance and, this building this lifestyle, the things that you've been able to do, reverse engineering things, looking at their goal, creating up some steps of like, okay, if I want this, I've got to do these things. Are there any other like key steps someone should or could take in order to make it happen?
Well, I feel like you've pretty much covered it all, but essentially, number one, awareness and a goal. Awareness and a goal that you know what you actually want to do. There's different avenues, whether it be, yeah, KiwiSaver shares, a property business, or just increasing your income. Lots of ways, but yeah, you have to have that goal to be able to know that what you want to do, right? And then I'd write a list, do a to-do list. Okay, well, if I want to get a property, what do I need to do? Go to want to speak to a broker or an advisor, um, and see like actually what do I need to do? If you want to start a business, well, research it, upskill, learn about it. Okay, well then you know what to do. If it's shares, again, just learn about it, like educate yourself, and then just tick off the one thing a day, one little task a day.
One of the things that I read when I first started my financial journey was like millionaires have multiple sources of income. And so when I was at uni, I was doing every single thing under the sun. Like I was working 100-hour weeks, burning myself out. And I was like, well, the average millionaire has 7 streams of income. So like I've got to have 7 streams of income and I've got to do like this side hustle, and do this. And for me, it was just a recipe of like burnout, and it was literally just like a disaster. And I feel like trading all of my time for money, it didn't actually really make a difference. Like, yeah, cool, making, $200, whatever it was, but it didn't actually really change the game for me. Do you think that if you're starting out on your journey, the focus should be on diversifying, building like 7 streams of income? Or would you say focusing on one thing at a time and then using that to be able to, I guess, similar to what you've done, using business to be able to, say, invest in property, shares, and all of the other things? Do you think that it's, I guess, a bit more beneficial to focus on like one thing at a time, or to go like, well, the average millionaire has 7 streams of income, so I've got to do 7 different things?
When you talk about the 7 streams, some of those streams are more passive. So if you're buying an investment property, for example, and you're not necessarily doing it up, you might do it up a tiny bit, but it sort of just like sits there. And then let's say you put money into shares, again, it just sort of sits there. A business is, you can have a passive business or an active business. Passive one might be something like a laundromat where it's not too much work. Passive is one where, not active is one where you're, having to do a lot more tasks. I absolutely agree in focusing on one thing, but I think it's totally fine to have some passive things on the side, diversify, and then focus on your active thing. Because if you have too many active things, you're right, you get burnout, and then you want to quit everything. That's happened to me multiple times.
I don't think I've met an entrepreneur who has not been burnt out. And like,
Yeah.
it's like every single time it happens, we're like, I'm going to learn my lesson this time. And then, for me, it's, happened a few times. And so I'm like, I'm actually going to learn my lesson this time. And one thing that I've noticed about you and your journey is the power of leverage and like using a team and being able to grow your impacts, like through, I guess, having other people, help you to achieve those business goals. And I feel like it's also like a reciprocal thing. I've met some people in your team where they love working for you, they love learning from you, they love being in your energy. And so I would love to just hear a little bit about how your mindset of, one person can do this. What's the like motivator to, I guess, like build your team, or, to be able to achieve your goals?
Well, again, I think an ROI. So I'm going, okay, I am doing these tasks. I'm using up all my time. If I had help from this person, I'd pay them, it'd be this amount. But how much more income could I generate if I focused on that? Same with like outsourcing some of your tasks, like maybe cleaning or, gardening. What other tasks are there? Getting food delivered. I'm talking about grocery delivery versus you going to the supermarket. So all of these things, sure, they cost a little bit more. I get all my parcels delivered. I pay the delivery fee. It's still cheaper than my time going and buying each, picking it up from the store. So everything's sort of ROI focused. What is my time? Where can I spend it to get the most impact to increase our income? And can I outsource anything that maybe necessarily?
Yeah. So I in my life, like I do that, like not every single week, but if, I'm a bit busier, I will like pay a cleaner to just like help me out. And I think that some people are like, what the hell? Like, you're 22, like, why do you do that? But I'm like, it just means that like I like working I work from home a lot. So I'm like, I like having a clean space, and it just helps me to be a bit more productive. Uh, for a lot of business owners though, being able to like hire a team and like build that requires like a next level mindset when you're thinking like, well, this person's relying on this income in order to pay their bills. Have you ever experienced like fear with that? And if you have, what is your mindset to be able to like shift that, to go like, actually, things can work out, yeah, have you experienced that fear?
Definitely. I mean, as a yeah, every business owner will be experiencing that. Oh, what if we don't generate an income this week, or something happens and I can't pay the team? Hopefully, you've got some sort of backup, a little bit of either funds you can dip into or something just to be able to keep them going. But yeah, if you're just trying to start to hire your first person, the first person could be a VA or contractor, so it could be a few hours a week. It doesn't have to be a full timer. So I feel like that's the best way to ease yourself in.
So just starting small and then like building from that. And you think, so if, say for example, you had a VA and they maybe just did like 5 hours a week or something, but you're able to spend those 5 hours growing your income, and then from there you're able to like maybe hire someone for 10 hours, and it just like has a snowball effect.
Yeah, so VA is a virtual assistant. Totally. So just try them for a little bit, see how it works. If they're freeing up 5 hours and you spend 5 hours getting clients or doing something that's making an impact, you might up them to 10 hours and then you've got more time to do things that create an impact.
When I'm listening to podcasts of people I'm, inspired by, one of the things that really inspires me is hearing about mistakes and like failure. And I think that when you experience those things, it can feel like a personal thing. It's like, well, I suck, and I've definitely made my fair share of mistakes in business, mistakes with money. And I see it as a blessing, and I'm quite spiritual. And so I think that everything happens for a reason. And I'm like, I messed this up because I needed to learn this lesson. What's your mindset about failure? Like, do you experience it? If you do, how do you, and I'm not saying you're a failure, but like, are there things in your life where you're like, oh, that didn't kind of work out?
All the time. Things often don't work out as you think. I remember when I first started, I must have been, around 22, 23 years old. And I still remember there was one time something didn't go to plan, and people on social media were talking about how bad I was or the business was bad. And I was very upset because that was probably one of the first times I'd had that feedback or a problem that I had to solve. So I've solved the problem. Then going forwards, every time a sort of problem occurred, fix it.
I love this so much. I have learned so much from being with you today. Are there any kind of final words you would share with our audience if they are struggling with scarcity mindset and they want to be able to move towards abundance and achieve some of the things that you've achieved? What would your final words be for our audience today?
So I know there's lots of people out there that they want to make a change in their life. It definitely just doing something about it. I know it can feel overwhelming because of the amount of tasks, or you might feel like the goal is so far away, but taking a little step every day, that's how you're going to do it. One little task.
I have absolutely enjoyed my time with you today, Iyia. I just wanted to thank you so much for coming onto the podcast, for sharing your lived experience, your success, sharing about your tenacity. I think there's a lot of people who are going to find so much value in today's episode, looking at setting goals, reverse engineering how they're going to achieve it, creating those daily actionable steps that people can take 1% better every single day, knowing your numbers, focusing on the return on investment, all of these key steps. I think there's going to be a lot of people who are like, oh my gosh, you've just broken it down in such a simple, easy, step-by-step way. So I just wanted to say how grateful I am for your time today and for joining us on the podcast on How We Money. So yeah, e mihi ana e hoa. I'm so grateful for your time today.
Cool. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Your mindset is your money's steering wheel. It decides the direction you go. Take a moment today to notice one belief you're holding about money and ask yourself whether it helps or holds you back. That small reflection is your first money move towards financial well-being. ANZ has some awesome tools to help you on your first steps. Check out their financial well-being webpage I've linked in the show notes below. If you found value in today's episode, send it to a friend, whānau member, or on your story. Make sure to tag us. Kia ora. The information in this podcast is for general information only and isn't financial advice. The views of the host or guests are their own and do not represent ANZ. ANZ and Māori Millionaire does not guarantee the accuracy or completeness of the content and isn't liable for any loss arising from its use. Please seek personalised advice before making financial decisions.